Hello and welcome to Dual Stream Trial TV Live with our good friend Joe Schmoe, who is our courtroom insider for day 5 of Arizona versus Lori Daybell. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm hanging in there. We got some interesting stuff today, enough to put us to sleep, and then enough to keep us awake.
Oh wow, to put you to sleep, really? Oh,
Well,
I
the
could.
medical examiner was a little dry, but
Oh,
his
okay.
testimony didn't last that long. So
It was surprisingly quick, to be quite honest.
yes,
I was
yeah.
kind of surprised about that. So before we get started, let's just check in on both of our chats because we are doing a dual stream. So let's see who is with us. You've got Justice Jane and Pammy. Uh, oh, look at that. Trial TV Live and Squeegee of Justice are saying hello in your chat.
We'll have
Uh,
to say
Moon,
hello back.
Moonchild 55 and Miss Shorty are over there. And we've got Capri Law and Hellcat, Queen Olive Ruth Ann, Mike Morrow. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Sinbad 33, Susie. Pammy, you were first over here. Pammy's doing dual duty tonight again. Terry H and Nan R, so good to see you guys. Hector's mom, looking forward to this recap. That's a new face. Thank you. Drunky the Bear, Baka, awesome. I love when I see new people in our chat. Equinox. So if you guys haven't already subscribed to Joe's page, please go over and do so. Joe Schmo 88 on YouTube and JS_media on Twitter or X, if that's where you like to go as well. Joanne Jedi Platypus is over in your stream, and Nick is over there as well. Christine, awesome. All right, everybody's coming in, saying hello. Get yourself situated and comfortable. And Joe, Monday after a long weekend, you had a great weekend. You want to tell us a little bit about your weekend first, and then we can go into the trial.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Um, Saturday night, cooking out with friends, eating out with friends, like what we cooked out, and then Sunday I had two really good interviews. One of those was pre-recorded for release later in the week, and then the live interview with Tom Evans yesterday, who was Idaho juror number 18, and it's just like he's a fantastic guy. He really is. He
Yeah.
was a joy to have on the channel.
And chat from both sides. Aaron and I watched the one with Tom, and that was definitely worth going to check out. I'll watch the other ones as well. Well, I know you're not gonna really. There was one. There's two that you did, right? But only one's
Yes,
been released. Only one's
correct.
available. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So good. So I'm not behind. I didn't fall behind. So good.
No.
All right. Good. So awesome. So let's see. So day 5. Anything happen on the way over that you want to talk about, or was it smooth sailing?
Um, no, it was smooth sailing. We arrived maybe just a tad later than our usual time. We were 9th, 10th, 11th in line. Um, which is a little further back than we're used to, but plenty good seats. I mean, we got third row seats behind the family, and that was fine, more than fine. But there were a lot of new faces from the public that showed up today to trial watch. There's a lot of, I think the interest may be building, like it may be getting out there more in the general public, and there were a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people curious to come watch today. And every time there's a bunch of new people come in, there's like a new energy to the group. So
Mm-hmm.
um, the bailiff had to come out and tell us one time, hey, while we were waiting to get in at 10 o'clock, 10:15, the bailiff had to come out and tell us to keep it down, or he was going to kick us all out, and we weren't going to get to watch the trial at all.
Oh wow,
So
that'll get you to hush up pretty quickly.
it did. It did. That worked.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Every time somebody would start getting loud, somebody else would go shh, shh.
And then you have like 30 people saying shh.
Right.
Well, good. I'm glad you
Yes.
didn't. I'm glad you didn't get kicked out. However, juror, we'll get to this down the road, but I'm going to tease it. Juror 15, his number got called again,
And juror 16. They
and
were in
six.
trouble
Oh,
together.
I
Yeah.
knew 16. Has 16 been called before?
Yes, he was the one that admitted that he had seen one of the Lori Vallow Daybell body cam videos before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The one with Officer Krautheim talking to her by the car, asking her for her driver's license. So
Okay.
not necessarily in trouble. In fact, he was a stand-up guy for telling the judge, "Hey, I didn't remember that I had seen this when you called me to be on the jury, but I remember it now."
Right. Right. Well, juror 15, I should say, we've heard that number called a couple times. So we'll,
We have. He just has this attitude that, I mean, just the way he walks, the way that I don't know. It's nothing I can put a finger on, but it's something that irritates me, and
hmm,
I wonder if he thinks he's above the rules. I mean, it seems like he does.
yeah. Somebody was asking in our chat if we could get an interview with him at some point. So
Ooh, ooh.
well,
I bet he's dying for an interview, but I bet he's going to ask for some money for his interview.
we can offer him we'll offer him a mug. We'll give him a trial TV live mug and a Joe Schmoe. Whatever you can offer, we'll give
Right.
him to him. Yeah. You mean just being on this wonderful stream isn't payment enough?
Right. Exactly. It is for
Swingy.
me.
Baca says swingy ball syndrome.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. All right. So we started off with some motions, right? There was some pre-trial. Oh, wait. But first of all, there was well, I'll let you. What happened? What happened first? I'll let you.
So what I have is a couple of subpoena issues. Like Lori subpoenaed some law enforcement officers, and the judge wanted to know, what the purpose of that was, like what if they really could offer relevant testimony. And then she also subpoenaed somebody named Robert Bobby Vallow. And we don't learn a whole lot about that yet, but I think we do during when we come back from one of the other breaks. And I'll just address it now. Apparently it's a quote unquote clerical error, and she subpoenaed the wrong person.
Yeah.
So oops, I'm sorry. I apologize to the family if I caused you any whatever.
And Bobby is who? Because I didn't know the name.
I have no idea. I've never heard that name before in anything.
We did find out through chat that's his brother. That's Charles's brother. Wait a minute. Is that right? Did I say that right? No, that can't be.
That could be like well,
Not Charles's brother.
Kay went down the list of her siblings. Do you remember that?
I do, and of course I didn't write that down. But why would it be Vallow? Why would his last name be Vallow? Wait a minute.
Charles Vallow, right?
Yeah. I'm totally getting mixed up right now. Yes,
Bobby is the youngest brother.
Yeah.
So there's Terry, Susan, Charles, Jerry, Kay, and Bobby.
Bobby, okay. And some thought, let me just reset myself for a second. Some thought that he was being called in retaliation for Adam being called. That was kind of the theory some were kicking around, but as we found out, as you said, it was just a clerical error on Lori's part.
Well, maybe she meant to send it to Charles's little brother, and she sent it to some random Robert Vallow somewhere in some other state. Because I mean, there can't be just one, right? I mean, there are probably multiple ones out there. I mean, it's not a common name, but
yeah, I've never run across a Vallow, but I don't know how common it is in certain parts. I don't know. Well, anyway, we found out it was a clerical error, and no harm, no foul done, I suppose, on Bobby, but not that we know.
Yeah, and then the state filed a motion to preclude witnesses. And they actually didn't have that posted on the server, but I did download it right before I jumped on here. Do you want me to read that motion, or just the names of the witnesses they want to preclude?
Sure. Yeah, if you have it handy.
Yep, that's right here on the top of my downloads. So this was actually entered electronically on the 12th, but it wasn't uploaded to the system until this afternoon when we were in trial. State request to preclude Vajia Itaiho. I remember that name being difficult to pronounce before, and I know I messed it up, and I apologize to Vajia. Gabriel Bonilla, and I'm pretty sure he was the bishop. He was her bishop in the church.
Okay.
Ashlyn Rend, who I'm not familiar with. I think Crescia told me who she was one time. Barry Cox, who is her dad, and Zachary Cox, who is Charles's son. No, Adam's son. Adam's son is Zachary.
Right.
Well, somebody told me there are two Zacharys, and I was getting them mixed up.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm pretty sure Zachary Cox is Adam's son, but I'm not 100% sure of that.
Yeah, I'll second that. I'm pretty sure that's what I know Zachary as, or Zach.
So the state has been unable to interview them. The state has checked the ICIS, and it does not appear that these witnesses have even been subpoenaed. And Zachary Cox has not been subpoenaed either. So that's it. She's not doing her, she's not following the rules of procedure.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of ran into that in the pretrial that the state couldn't. They were trying to get a hold of these people. Either they didn't have phone numbers, or if they did, people weren't answering, or they weren't calling back. So we've kind of heard this song and dance from Lori's side, or actually from the state side, saying
Right.
It's just impossible to get a hold of these people. Yeah.
There's also a motion in limine that we haven't seen yet, that hasn't been opened or uploaded yet. I'll keep my eye out for that. And supposedly there is a video that was reviewed by Janice Cox, her mom, and Summer Shiflett, her sister. So video reviewed. I don't know what that means.
I keep hearing this, and I go back to, she said the evidence will show that in March of, was it 2018, possibly 2019, that there's a video of Charles being aggressive, abusive, yelling at, screaming at, whatever, to Tylee. She did say that. She said that in her opening. So I wonder if this is the video that she's been that she teased in the opening.
That I'm thinking that might be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Because she said it. She said in one of her openings, she said, the evidence will show that in January and February and March, and there's video to show that in March, April, May, she was kind of going through these months of when Charles was, in her opinion, he was being aggressive or whatever. But she said specifically, I think it was either March or April, that she said there's video that will show that. So when I heard that, I'm like, ooh, is that the promised video? So we'll see.
Yeah. I think the rules of evidence are you have to have this stuff submitted 30 days in advance before trial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I'll actually get to on another point. No, I won't. I thought through the days in my head, and I talked myself out of my argument. So we won't have to hear that argument today, Your Honor.
Self-talked out of.
Yes. So in trial 2, questionnaires will go out the third week of May 19th to 23rd. They will review them on May 29th, like they did in this case. Then they will have in-person jury appearances on May 30th. And he expects to seat a jury as fast as he did in this one. And start the trial the following Monday, June 2nd. Then go for 5 days, June 2nd to 6th. The same thing the following week. The third week is dark, so he must be at his training thing, whatever that is.
Yeah.
The third week of June.
Right.
And then from July 23rd, 24th, 25th, or June 23rd, 24th, 25th, June 30th, and then July 1, 2, 3. So he expects to have Brandon's trial wrapped up by July 3rd. And I'm pretty sure he said he has to have it wrapped up by July 4th.
Didn't he say he was leaving he was getting cycled out or something?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I heard that right.
Yes. I think he made special arrangements to be able to be around for Brandon Boudreaux's case.
I also have 300 jurors written down, like they were going to interview 300. Do you remember that?
I missed that. I missed that. Yeah.
Is that about how many they did for the Charles?
They did 200.
200. Okay.
For the first one, so maybe they thought we may need a little bigger jury pool this time.
Yeah.
Although, we talked about before, I mean, they took the first 16 they got in the box.
Right.
For in-person voir dire.
Right. Is it getting now that you're there? Are you watching local news, and are they showing it? Like you're not watching 6 o'clock or 11 o'clock per se, but do you feel like they're showing it locally?
I imagine they are. They've had Fox 10 has been out there. I declined an interview on Fox 10. Today, Arizona Family TV was there. I declined an interview on for that. I'm a little camera shy. Like
Aw,
I'm
Joe.
okay in my studio being on camera, but like if you're like a TV station and you have this big old camera and you stick this big old microphone in my face, I'm gonna be dude.
Oh, we got our first super sticker, Beach Bum. Thank
Oh,
you.
look at that! Awesome.
Appreciate your $5
Thank you, Beach Bum.
donation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Beach Bum.
You know what I wanted to do? I'm just going to throw this out there to you. I was not in for Sarah. I was not in the courtroom. I was outside, so I hung out with all the techs, right? All the camera guys and some of the personalities, but mostly the camera operators. And what I wanted to do was go around and I wanted to do this whole back behind the scenes, and I wanted to interview the camera operators for all these different news stations, and I just never got a chance to it. So is that something? I'm going to throw this out to you. Is that something you would want to do, could do, or you have your hands full with being in the courtroom?
No, I probably could because there is a period of time, like for a couple of hours every single morning, where we're all just hanging out in the waiting room.
Mm.
All and technically we're seated in different rows. The media's in the front two rows, the public's in the back two rows. But
Mm.
I've become familiar with who the camera guys are. So that's possible. That could happen.
All right, just throwing out some content ideas there because we were trying to give our chat behind the scenes look because I was doing all these videos and taking photos of behind the scenes as best as I could, and I thought that would be a really cool thing because all you see is the front end of it, right? You see just in front of the camera. I wanted to like show the camera people, who is behind the scenes, who is operating the camera behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
that being said, let's get back to the trial per se, because I know Chad is waiting for us to hear about how the jury reacted and how Lori reacted to some of the testimony. So
All right.
what happened first?
So the ME was called an ME. I don't think he's the chief ME for Maricopa County. I think he is a medical examiner for the Office of the Medical Examiner. So I'm sure they have multiple medical examiners because of their caseload. He's responsible for determining the cause and manner of death. He performed the autopsy on July 13th, so that was 2 days after the incident. And then he was presented with exhibits 152 to 179, which are going to be autopsy photos. So she had her paralegal take those up there. Height and weight 71.5 inches, so that's 60 inches or 72 inches is 6 feet. So he was half an inch under 6 feet tall, 270 pounds. The medical examiner did not observe any injuries to his face or the back of his head, which is interesting because of Alex's story about there being a scuffle.
Same with Lori, right? Didn't Lori say they were scuffling too, or no?
Yep.
Yeah, I think she did as well.
There were abrasions on his chest, and I have on his sternal chest and abdomen. So sternal chest, your sternum is right here in the middle. So there are abrasions right there, and then there are abrasions on his abdomen. There were no abrasions to his right hand. There was a slight abrasion to his left hand. And then there was the blood transfer from when he probably, clutched his heart when he got shot through the heart.
Yeah.
And this is one of the most interesting ones. I posted this on Twitter. There were abrasions to both knees that appear to be perimortem. Perimortem meaning at or near the time of death.
Yep.
So
what's your conclusion on that?
Well, she'll get to that towards the end, but I can tease it ahead of time. He didn't just fall backwards when he was shot, which is what the scene looked like when the police arrived.
Right. So did you pick that up as that was happening? Because I just wanted to know.
Oh,
Like you,
absolutely, yes,
yeah.
absolutely,
So that
yeah.
was something you're like, oh, okay. So he gets shot, or something happened. He falls to his knees versus him shoot. Because I thought he got shot and fell back. Like he clutches his chest, falls back, and that
No,
now apparently. So that was pretty obvious to you when he said that.
absolutely,
Yeah.
and that's how Hollywood portrays it. They portray it
Yeah.
when you get shot, you just go whoop, and go straight back.
Mm-hmm.
And Mythbusters actually did a whole thing on how bullets don't have the mass to make our body mass move like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets shot through the heart. He starts bleeding out, internally, and he only lives for at the most a couple of minutes. Collapses to his knees, and I would almost think he would have fallen forward at that point.
Yeah.
You know, most people that collapse to their knees end up falling forward. So for him to end up where he was,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then pushed over, yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, but I
That's what I
think
was. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, he falls to his knees, and Alex just like pushes him over. But then his legs would have been crumpled underneath him, so Alex would have had to pull his legs out or something.
yes,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, it,
Yeah.
it it looks like she's setting the scene for it to look like a stage scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like Alex staged it either with
Yeah.
with Lori's knowledge or without Lori's knowledge. But if they're conspiring, then it was
Right.
with Lori's knowledge, and she's working on proving that. The bullet wound in the chest. This was an interesting one to me. He said because of the way it was kind of oval shaped or disformed in one way,
Mm-hmm.
that bullet entered at an angle, at a slight angle to the surface of his chest where it went in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so we're looking at the pictures now. We're looking at the autopsy photos now, and they're up on all the monitors throughout all the courtroom. The gallery has 2 monitors on either side. There's a big, huge projector screen in front that most of the jury looks at. The thing I don't like about that big projector screen is it's not as sharp. The resolution isn't as good, and the coloring isn't as good, and it's kind of hard to see some of the details. So I'll find myself watching that screen. Like today, I was all the way over on the right side of the gallery, so close to the jury, and I could
Mm-hmm.
see that screen. And then I would look over to the monitor that's right up off to my right side, and I'm like, you can see a lot more detail in these high res monitors off to our side than you can on that screen. So I wonder if the jury's picking up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're seeing, like, I mean, there were some graphic details in some of those like close up photos of the wounds. And
Mm-hmm.
then of course the trajectory rods.
Oh, they
Those
actually
were
they showed those. They showed the rods coming out of his body and stuff, or
going through his body.
going through.
You guys didn't see that?
No, no, they're not going to show that.
Did
No,
they
they.
did they show did they show any of the autopsy photos?
Nope. Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, they didn't
Oh
show any.
wow, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
No, they generally don't. It's rare that you get. Well, you've watched enough
Yeah,
enough trials.
right.
It's rare that you get it, and when you do, it's like for a split second.
Well, I
Um,
know you guys did get to see like the body cam footage of the first officer coming in and checking his pulse, right? You guys did get to see that?
if we did see the body cam, but I think it might have been blurred. It might have been
Hmm,
blurred, and that's
okay.
why there's the 30-minute delay. You know,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So,
Um, so yeah, now we're taking a little further away look. There's a picture that's taken a little further away, and then all the way up to close up of the entry wounds and the exit wounds.
mhm.
Um,
And how was the jury reacting, and or
they
the
were
gallery?
the jury was on the edge of their seats for this.
Yeah. Okay.
Watching the autopsy photos, they were literally on the edge of their seats. They were
Wow.
all paying very rapt attention to these photos.
Okay.
Then she gets into stippling versus soot. So if you're really close up, there will be soot from the gun from unburnt gunpowder that ends up on the body. There was no soot on the entry wounds for either of them. There was stippling on the chest wound.
Hmm.
So that's an indication of anywhere from an inch away to, like he said, 4 to 5 feet away. And he said, in his opinion, in this case, it was 2 to 4 feet away was the muzzle of the gun.
Hmm.
Um, So the entry and exit wounds, and so they measured down. They measured down from his head, and I'm not sure. There's got to be like a set point on the head that they measure down to the wound from the head. I don't know if it's like the middle of the ear they measure down to the wound, that they measured front wound from the head, back wound. There was a slight 1.25 inch downward trajectory to that chest wound. Then the wound path was through the skin, through the sternum, through the pericardium, through the right atria, and then the left ventricle, then through the 9th thoracic vertebrae, and then of course through the skin in the back. He was not. Go ahead.
I have to. I guess this might be a gross question, but I'm thinking about those trajectory rods. Is poor Charles? Is he cut open and then you see the rods? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I just had to. I had to go there for my own morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we saw.
Then I can understand that's got to be pretty rough. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I could deal with that. I'd be like, especially if I had any connection to him, I would be like, yeah, I can't. I just can't deal with that. Like if that's your brother, can you imagine if that's your brother? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Not immediately deceased. He could have lived for seconds, maybe up to 2 minutes. Is it possible? Okay. In that time before he was deceased, after he was shot through the heart, could he have lived? Could he have moved? Could he have spoken? Yes, it's possible. Is it possible that he fell to his knees after he was shot? Yes, that's possible also.
Mm-hmm. And people are saying that's why Kay wasn't there today. And Simi's asking.
Kay was there today for parts of it. She wasn't there for this part. But she was in and out of other sessions.
So she didn't. Okay.
So she did not have to see this. I'm sure she was warned.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure Trina probably said, yeah, Kay, we're bringing the medical examiner. You probably don't want to see this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a great question. I know you guys are dropping questions in and I'm starring them or Aaron's starring them, but this is a good one. Was Lori looking at the autopsy folder?
Every time I looked at her, she was not.
So she was like looking down, scribbling or looking around?
Exactly. Leaning over, talking to her investigator, moving papers. Every time I saw her. That's not to say she didn't sneak a peek now and then, but I don't think she did.
Yeah. Okay. I really wish we had a camera on her because then you could see, if she is, you're right. Because if she's writing down, she looks up, but all we see is the back of her head, if we're lucky. And most of the time they're on the witness, which is fine. But we never see her face unless she turns around walking away from the podium. And that's about it. And it's for like 2 seconds. So.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Then we get to the trajectory rods, and they did cut him open to show the trajectory rods as the bullet passed through the interior of his body.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So then she asks about the downward trajectory of that chest wound, and could it have been a different arm angle? Could it have been a different gun angle? Or he said it could also be a difference in height of the people that causes that downward trajectory. So he could have been, holding the gun up like this, for it to have that downward trajectory.
Yeah. I thought about that. Is it more convenient or not convenient, but is it easier on your wrist to do one of these or to go like that?
I have never shot a sideways gun shot in my life, so I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I'm just saying, just from my wrist, that just feels, when I'm like that versus like that, it just feels easier to do.
Well, it seems like, so it's going to kick back, and if you're sideways like this, it's going to kick like that, and your wrist doesn't have as much. I don't think it has much strength like that as it does like this. Like if it's straight line in line with your arm and elbow. I'm just speculating. I'm sure there are other people out there that know a lot more about it than I do. And
Alex was for all intents and purposes, he was professional, right? I mean, he knew how to fire a gun. He had just been at the range, or they were going to go to the range. I think he was talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
in that interview. So he probably did. He probably did two handed. Probably did it two handed, and again, speculating, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay, so then we get into the gunshot wound um, in the left abdomen. There's no stippling, no soot, which means he was probably at least 4 to 5 feet away, if not more, or the shooter was 4 to 5 feet away, if not more. Um, the exit wound was out of the back of the left shoulder. They talk about the exit wound having more tearing of the flesh as it leaves the body. How it was a short exit wound. Um, the trajectory path was through the abdomen, through the left lung, through the back left fourth rib. It was front to back, right to left, and upward, steeply upward.
Mm-hmm.
And then once again, we see the trajectory rods inside. So she says, so is it your opinion then that the shooter was standing at his feet and shot him while he was laying down? Yes. So that's a pretty big one right there.
Yeah. Yeah, they she talked about the distance from the top of the head to the entrance and exit wounds. So we found
Right.
that specifically, which again just confirms that they were probably standing face to face, and then Charles fell, and then he got shot while he was on the ground.
Right.
No self
I wonder,
defense at that point.
right.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
wonder how much later, though. I wonder how much later he was shot on the ground, after that first shot that took his life
They
for
didn't
all
ask.
intents and purposes.
Yeah, that was not asked of the good doctor, and I kind of remember that being asked or being talked about in opening for state.
Yeah.
Kind of like I think maybe she touched upon that, but meaning which one was first? She was trying to say, well, the evidence will show. Not that Trina said that, but basically she was saying, we will show you, we will prove to you how what order it was. It wasn't just Beach Bum again. Oh wait, let's pull
Wow.
this up. Thank you, Beach Bum.
Beach
Very
bum, beach bum bringing it tonight.
very sweet of you. Thank you.
Yes.
um, hold on a sec. Then okay, the tox screen. She asked if they did a
Yes.
toxicology screen, and they said he said yes, and no drugs or alcohol, which I thought was interesting because I'm like, ooh, I didn't even think about that. But then Lori brought that up and unveiled
Right.
unveiled some interesting stuff.
Well, she asked about it. She didn't say that because she can't testify, although she tries to with her questions at times. She didn't come out and say, well, I know he was taking, blood pressure medicine or HGH or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, so after the tox screen, no drugs, no alcohol, cause of death, multiple gunshot wounds. So we start the cross at 10:53 a.m. Could the abrasions to his knees and to his hands been caused by a scuffle? Yes, that's possible. This is a crazy theory she's got here. Could the shot to the abdomen, could that have been while he was falling backwards and then he bounced on the ground? Like,
Yeah. I was
that's what
trying to envision that. Like, can you walk me through that? Like, what do you? So he's falling, he hits the ground, he bounces, and then the second shot. Then is that what she was trying to say?
yeah, I think so. And I think the ME was trying to figure it out too. He's like, wait, can you ask that again? I think he had her repeat that question.
Yeah.
Um, could the sword wound have been, here she is back to the bamboo clothing, been caused by clothing? Do you know about bamboo clothing? He's like, no, not really. It says it's unusual for a t-shirt to cause it. Like usually if clothing causes it, it's like accessories like a belt or a brassiere or something, something of a little stiffer, tighter material,
Right.
could cause a short wound.
And not to interrupt you, but Miss Shorty dropping $14.99. Thank you so much, Miss Shorty.
Oh, Miss Shorty, thank you. I'm glad you're watching that. Miss Shorty, thank you so much. Thanks for joining chat too. That's like I can get 2 coffees now.
Oh yeah, how much are our coffees?
Oh, they're actually not that expensive in the courthouse cafe down on the first floor. If you want to go with that coffee, I think they're like between $3.50 and $4.
That's not too bad.
It's slightly above gas station coffee. I'll give it yeah, but now I can stop it and get some good stuff.
Right. Yeah. Bamboo is the new Kevlar, Beach Bum
Right.
says.
So then redirect. If the t-shirt caused the short wound, Trina K asked, wouldn't you expect both wounds to be short wounds? And I have, if I were allowed to do recross, my answer would be, can you tell me how tight the shirt was on his shoulder and how tight the shirt was around his back? Because usually that type of shirt and that type of build on that man, I mean, he had decent sized shoulders, right? So it would have been tighter on his shoulders than it would have been on his mid back where that first bullet came out. So I would have had a redirect question or a recross question on that, but I'm not her attorney, thank goodness.
Yeah. I actually thought that was a really good point that Trina brought up. Because she's going on and on about this bamboo and all this stuff, and I thought that was to me, I thought that was a win for the state to come back with that redirect, because that kind of to me just blew the whole bamboo clothing shirt kind of out of the water. But you're right, that would have been a good recross. Would become, does the tightness, does the stretching matter? Because you're right, when it's coming off your shoulders, it's going to be tight, but once it comes down, because your shoulders, kind of bend, so his back would probably be a little bit looser there. But on his chest, it's probably tight on his chest. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, those would all be good questions just to ask. Just to, again, it's all about creating reasonable doubt. So
right, and we don't really know because they cut the shirt off of him before anybody else was there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, jury questions.
That's a great one, Nanar. I came over here to make sure I could hit thumbs up on Joe's channel too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Double thumbs up.
Awesome. All right. Sorry, go ahead. Okay. Jury questions.
Jury questions. Was there a significant amount of blood in the left lung? No, but there was in the chest cavity, which suggests that the heart was still beating. Or would that suggest that the heart was still beating? Possibly, but it could be that the heart was just so full of blood that once all that blood was let out by the deformities in the heart from the bullet, then all of that blood that was in the heart filled the chest cavity. So, and then was there blood in the throat or the mouth? No, there was not.
Do you think, because when I heard there were jury questions, I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's a medical professional in the juror. And remember, we thought that with the CPR. Remember that question. Do you know, do you kind of get a sense of who's writing jury questions, or it looks like they're just taking notes and you're not quite sure? Or do they rip off something and pass it down? Can you tell who's asking?
Yes, they rip off something and pass it down. So this came from like juror 2 or 3. He was all the way up in the top row and all the way on the left side.
Okay.
Middle-aged man, maybe about my age.
Okay.
Apparently paying attention. So it wasn't juror 15 this time.
Okay. Oh, do you think all those questions came from the same juror or different?
Yeah, no? They did. Yes, there was one piece of paper that came forward.
Wow. All right. Good for that juror.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought to ask those questions. That's pretty good.
Yep. He's paying attention.
He's
paying attention.
Yeah. Now, before we go on, because that's the end, right, of
Yes.
Dr. Baumgartner. I asked a question to our chat, 181 votes. Which Lori will we get today? So 38% said she was going to be aggressive. 28% said she would be translated. 27 27% said she would be demure, and 5% said she would be smart. So out of that, aggressive, translated, demure, or smart, which Lori did you think we would get today? At this point, which Lori did you think we would get?
I didn't think she would have any questions for the experts, and she had a few in there. So she was a little bit of all four of those in the end. I wasn't thinking about, the only thing I was thinking about was that she's not prepared enough to ask the medical experts and the other experts we saw today, like, questions that could really sow reasonable doubt. So yeah.
Akasha says, "Well, she was all of them."
Yes.
If
Agreed.
I had a fifth field, I would have said all of the above.
And probably in about that percentage too.
Yeah, I thought she was less aggressive today though, because there's really nobody personal, right? It wasn't like
Right.
Nancy Joe where she was just like claws were out and she was just like going for it. So I
Yeah,
thought,
there was
go ahead.
one of them where there was a point that she really wanted to drive home and she wouldn't just let it go. And she couldn't get the expert, and I don't remember which one it was. I guess we'll get to it when we get to that. But she was really aggressive about driving home that one point with that one expert.
Right. Dwayne has a quick question. Juror 15, young, middle-aged, or older?
He's older. He's older than me.
Yeah.
He's got completely white hair. He's got really dark glasses, dark rimmed glasses.
Okay.
Dresses a lot of the times in jeans and a t-shirt and work boots. And he just like casually saunters in to his seat, sits down, and
I wonder if he's been a juror before and he's just like, yeah, been there, done that. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't think my notes will be able to tell me for him particular, because I don't know what number he was before he was juror number 15.
All right. Dare I say he's acting nonchalant? Or
I was just getting ready to say that before you interrupted my train of thought. You beat me to it.
Sorry. I took it. All right. You get the next one.
All right. It was low-hanging fruit.
It was. We'll share it. We'll share that one.
All right. Okay. So Mark Sari is next. He's a special agent with Social Security Administration, the Office of Inspector General. He investigates fraud in the Social Security Administration. Trina starts asking him general questions about, my battery's running low. Hold on 1 second. Apparently forgot to plug my computer in. Hold up.
Yeah, no worries. I'll just, let's see. Beachbum says she self-snitched today. Oh, Tanika's 2 cents is with us. Let's see,
Was that not connected?
Rona V says it was the Social Security guy she was harassing. Simi says Lily was low-key hissing at Nancy Joe. I don't know if she was low-key. I think she was like flat out coming at her. Pinky Lemonade, I thought she was aggressive with the female police officer. She was very nonchalant. Yeah, she was great. Cassandra. We'll definitely get to Cassandra. Mike, good one on the nonchalant. Oh, Sarcasm says, hey, Joe Schmoe, hey now, I'm completely silver and not old. Plus you don't look that old either.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I think I got my laptop plug-in figured out.
Okay.
It says it's plugged in. I'll trust it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is Beach Bum. This is the one who's your manager. All right, we'll get to that. That's because everybody in chat was saying, I want to speak to your manager. All right. We'll get to that. We're jumping ahead. Okay. We'll get to that. Okay, Mark, sorry. Special Agent, Inspector General, Social Security, basically.
Yeah. Trina starts by asking him just some general questions about death benefits. If the spouse remarries, the benefits stop. just hitting some highlights. But then she starts to get into specific details. In 2019, because of Joe Ryan's death, Tylee was getting $1,859 a month as the child survivor of Joe Ryan. Lori had remarried after that, so she wasn't getting anything related to Joe Ryan's death. She was appointed a representative payee, though, on that account. So the SSA sent the money to Lori on Tylee's behalf.
Oh yeah, she had control. Even though the money's going to Tylee and it's going to Tylee's bank account or whatever, she had access to it. There's no way, she wasn't going to have her hands on that.
Right. So after Charles is killed on August 12th of 2019, Lori went into the Social Security office. They had a little meeting. She provided the date of the marriage to Charles, which was February 24th of 2006. And as a part of that interview with the SSA, she's asked, were you living together at the time of death? And she says, yes. She was a little liar, liar, pants on fire to the Social Security Administration.
Yep.
That's not the first lie either.
Nope. It won't be the last. Yeah.
So she applied for benefits for JJ as a survivor and for her as a mother in care or a mother of a child in care. They each got about $4,000 lump sum, which was backdated to the actual time of death. For some reason, JJ's was a little under, hers was a little over, but it was about $8,000 total that they got lump sum payment. And then they were both awarded monthly payments of $1,951. So almost $4,000 a month of monthly payments from the SSA to Lori since she was in charge of JJ.
Right.
And that's all I have for that. Do you have anything more for Trina's questions of Mr. Sorry? Yeah.
The one was just she marries Chad November 5th, 2019.
Okay.
That was it. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's pretty much covers it.
November 5th. So from July, August, September, October, November, 4 months later, she's married to Chad.
Yep. And then a month later, Alex is gone.
Right. So cross-examine. She begins with a really odd question. Can two spouses who were married to the same deceased person for more than 10 years receive survivor benefits from their spouse?
Yeah.
She's going into spousal survivor benefits. She's not going into mother in care. And does it even matter? Was Charles's wife before her married for 10 years? So if they were married in 2006, then that's more than 10 years. That's 13 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Then she goes, she tries to testify. She goes, so when I went into the Social Security office, objection, the defendant is testifying through her questions, sustained. And she tries to ask him something about spousal survival benefits versus mother in care, mother of child in care, and the child survivor benefits. And this is the one she kept hammering on, and she couldn't get him to cave in. And she just keeps asking him about, well, do you know that I went into the Social Security office and filled out? Do you know what I filled out? Like stupid things like that. Like she just wouldn't let it go. And he says, I don't know what was told to you when you went into the Social Security office, but we only respond to applications that people give to us. Like he's saying, you didn't give us a spousal survival application. And she's trying to say, well, yeah, I did, without saying, yeah, I did. and she just can't get him to cave in. Mother and care benefits are exact same amount as child and care benefits. But the spousal benefit she never applied for, apparently, or he's saying she didn't apply to it that he ever found in her file when he was doing his investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said something that was funny to me. He said there should not be any confusion. She's trying to confuse it, but there shouldn't be any. Social Security Administration goes by the information that the applicant provides.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Then survivor benefit for JJ. She goes and confers with her counsel for a minute, which is advisable. And she says, you weren't present at the Social Security Administration office when I was there, were you? No. When did you, I have this circled in red.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start investigating this fraud? She just told on herself.
That's the self-snitching.
Yeah.
Yep.
When did you start investigating this fraud? She just admitted that it was fraud. And he said January of 2020. So after Charles is killed and a couple of months after she remarries.
Mm-hmm.
Redirect, what was the point of the meeting at the Social Security Administration office? Where were the letters sent? This is key to Santan Valley. So that would have been Alex's house. She had the Social Security response letters. So that would have been on her application because they would send the letters to whatever was on her application. So she was using Alex's house as her address at that time.
Right.
And then I have upon the remarriage, MIC ceased to Chad. I don't know what that note is. Oh, the mother in care. Upon remarriage, her mother in care benefit would have ceased. So her 1950 would have gone away. I think that's what I had notes there. Then we have jury questions. The sidebar headphones aren't working, so they actually have a real honest to goodness sidebar. Like they go up to the judges, whatever you call it, he's up there at, and they all have a real honest to goodness sidebar. I was like, wow. Jury questions, 3 of the 4 were answered. Are asked and answered. They didn't ask the 4th one. Where the payment stopped after completing your investigation. Yes, payments were stopped. Did she notify you of her new marriage? No. I don't know what the third question.
I have a note for you. Well, we found out what that third question was that wasn't approved.
Okay, that's right. It was 2 of 3 that were asked.
Yeah,
right,
Judge tells us that later. But who argues on behalf of Lori? Does she argue? She does. She actually argues. Yeah. Okay. All right.
She's up there on all the sidebars doing her arguing. So, and then the defense and the state get a chance to ask follow-up questions of the witness based on those questions. And she basically says, so if I filed that, is it possible that you could have missed it? And he just says, no.
Yeah.
Nope, I didn't miss anything. You didn't file it. Liar, liar. And the state calls Robin Smith Scott, who's with Banner Life Insurance. They talk general questions at first about policy owner insured. They may or may not be the same one, but only the policy owner is allowed to change the beneficiary or beneficiaries on a policy. There has to be a beneficiary change form. Oh, let me put that down. I plugged it in. Go back. There we go. Had my monitor in the way.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you, Vega and Ambiguous. Sorry, just want to give Vega and Ambiguous. Thank you for the $1.99 support. Appreciate that.
Policies of a certain size need to be notarized. Obviously, $1 million policy needs to be notarized. His beneficiary change form was notarized. Okay, as a matter of standard business practice, do you guys record all of your calls? Yes, we do. So Charles's policy was changed, so Lori was the primary beneficiary until February 26, 2019. There are a lot of dates right there at the end of February in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's February 24th, there's a couple on February 26th.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird. But anyway, he changed it to his sister on February 26, 2019. And then we hear the audio call. Oh no, she reviews the audio call silently first to verify that it is a true and accurate copy of the call. And then we take a lunch break before we actually hear the call.
Yes. Just trying to think. Okay, this is where we find out that the sidebar, there were tech issues with the headset. We hear more about the email to Bobby Vallow, and that was the mistake. I think that's where we hear that it was a mistake. So, Pammy.
Oh yeah, right.
Pammy's
Thank
doing
you,
a.
Pammy.
She's doing a dual love bomb. Thank you, Pammy. Appreciate you.
Always.
Did you catch that she asked for his manager? She asked for Mr. Sari's, Mark Sari's.
Oh, yes.
Who's your superior? And he's like, is your question who my boss is? And of course, that was objected to. And then she's like, yes, who has assigned my case to you? That was objected to. But then, and then Judge, Trina says relevance, but then Judge is like, it's not, but you can go ahead and answer. And so Joe Rogers, but he's now retired. I literally have down, chat says Lori is asking for the manager. Did you guys get that? Did she seem like she was stomping her feet saying, I want to see the manager? Why, it was your employee. It was your employee that, that screwed up. Right. She intimated that at one point. She's like, well, I was there and I told the employee this and they must have screwed it up. Did you guys pick up on that? Or
I didn't get that vibe. I got more of a vibe of she's just trying to grasp at conspiracy stories, like, who assigned you this case type of thing, like who and why.
Yeah.
And it's not relevant, but maybe she can find something if she kicks up enough rocks. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty funny. That's a funny reaction.
So far, we've had the ME and the special agent, and now we get into Robin Smith. Okay, so up until now, really no bombshells, right? Nothing other than maybe Charles was on steroids and he had roid rage, because she was talking about, he was aggressive and he lost his temper and all this stuff. Like,
I missed that part of my notes.
Yeah, he was taking steroids. He was taking performance PEDs, performance enhancing drugs. That she got in, or did she? Or was that objected to? Well, I heard it.
No, she asked him if, in general, a toxicology report would test, and she used the two things that I heard her say were blood pressure medicine and human growth hormone. And he said, no, we don't usually test for those things. Well, if the detective asks you to test for that, would you? And he's like, well, probably. She goes, well, does that happen a lot? And he goes, that's very rare, or that's out of normal or abnormal.
Yeah, I thought that was significant. To me, that was like one of the more, that besides abrasions on Charles's knees, I should say, that to me, I could see where she was going with that, to say, well, Charles was, he was on these other medications that you didn't test for. So therefore we can jump to the conclusion that, he was aggressive. And, I think she was going down that path, but it didn't.
But she didn't land that plane.
Didn't go anywhere. Yeah.
It's still circling.
Yeah. Anything else that jumps out at you?
Just the abrasions on the knees were huge to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. She thinks it happened during the scuffle. We think it happened when he landed. Did they show him? Did they show the abrasions? Like, was it really?
They did show his lower extremities. I don't remember looking at taking a close look up at his knees. I probably should have looked up at the monitor. I was looking at that point in time, I was looking at the jury to see how they were reacting to this.
Right. Because if you just fall straight to your knees, they'll probably be bruised. I would think, right?
I would think so. Yes.
They would be bruised. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if your weight, your weight falls down on your knees, you're going to have, they'll be bruised.
Right.
All right. So that's lunch. Did anything happen at lunch anything unusual happen at lunch? Any stories?
No, just standing in line behind the jurors getting their lunch is crazy to me, because you're in a room full of, a courthouse full of people who are true crime followers on this case. That is one of the biggest cases going on right now. And they stick the jurors in line getting lunch with us, and they're kind of talking, socially among themselves. But and one of the things about new people coming in is they're very not self-aware of being conscious about not discussing the case around the jurors. And I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear anybody doing that. But I did kind of have to check myself a couple of times, because I was standing in line with Janelle Murphy, and, she's associated with the case and following the case. And I was just like, a couple of times, just like, okay, we can't talk about it. We're just going to get our food, and then we're going to go back upstairs. Then we can talk about it.
Right. So Zach's asking what this button does. Zach, it gets you pulled up on the screen. Zach is our resident prankster. Nicholas Ticholas. Wow, you have access to the jurors at lunchtime.
Yep.
Yeah.
And sometimes it breaks. And one of the funniest things is when the jurors go to lunch, they come out and they fit every single one of them, all 14 of them, plus the director, who's like the tour guide, shuffling around where they need to go. They fit them all in one elevator car at the same time.
Wow. Jeez. Let's hope nothing happens to that car.
Oh, no kidding. Oh,
while they're all in there, they get stuck or something, or
oh my gosh.
Let us out.
Start climbing over the roof like Die Hard.
Right.
Okay.
So coming out of lunch, nothing really spectacular happened from our end that we could see.
Just he asked the state how long they thought they would go, and Trina said she thought they're going to be able to conclude by their case in chief by Thursday, which I'm not surprised by, because they're almost out of witnesses now. All of the personal witnesses have been called, and most of the law enforcement witnesses have.
Yeah, I think I counted. There's 22 witnesses, and we're on 17. We made it through 17 already.
Yeah.
So she's cooking.
Yep. So then we get back to the questions. No. So Lori sent some subpoenas to police officers, and the judge asked her a little bit more about why did you send the subpoenas, and is what they're going to testify to even relevant? And she's like, yeah, of course it is. And it's about the timing of the investigation, who was arrested, who wasn't arrested, why they weren't arrested, when weren't they arrested. And he's like, once again, that may open the door for something. So, because they could say we were waiting on the case in Idaho to wrap up. That's why our investigation didn't go fast, because you were on trial for 3 murder charges in another state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jack kept saying, open that door, Lori, open that door. She was she was walking that thin line.
Yeah. Then there's the Robert Bobby Vallow clerical error. Then, wait, did I go backwards?
No.
This is after lunch. Yeah, 13. Okay.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah. So then Janice Cox, Summer Shiflett again. Lori says this isn't going to affect anything today. Okay, so we'll talk about it later. That video with Janice Cox and Summer Shiflett. Robin Smith's got resumes. They talk about the beneficiary change form. We see it on the screen. And then they talk about the phone call. And I have a note here, several jurors are taking notes, like more than usual are taking notes, detailed notes here. They tell us what Lori's email address is, Lori4style something something iCloud. So Lori calls into the insurance office. Have you guys listened to this phone call before today?
Yeah.
Me too. It's not a long phone call, but it's pretty enlightening. Lori says, "Oh, well, I'm the primary beneficiary." And then, how did he die? It was a homicide. Oh, no. Yeah, no, it was a shooting. She says it was a shooting. And then Robin asks her, was it a homicide? And she says it was an accident. And I'm just like, you think the insurance company won't figure out that it wasn't an accident sooner or later?
Yeah.
Like, are you just going to take your $1 million and abscond with it and disappear?
Yeah. That's what she thought.
Yep.
Little did she know.
Little did she know. Then I have a little side note here too. So her investigator comes in like in the middle of this testimony, and he comes in the back and he goes and he sits down next to the two co-counsel or advisory counsel that are at the back table, and he pulls up this chair and he's like trying to get this chair comfortable, like sidled up next to that desk, and he's making a bunch of noise. And Trina turns around and she just gives him a look, and I don't necessarily say it was a dirty look, but it was a look. He's back there making noise with his chair.
I think Trina's kind of over the whole Lori show, what's going on over there. Cause later, like towards the end, right, there was an exchange kind of we'll get to that, but right, there was an exchange sort of between Trina and Jeff White and all that. So her investigator. Yeah, I think Trina's, well, every time she objects, we hear it, and I'm sure you see it and or hear it, where she's like, objection relevance. Like, I feel like that's what we're hearing. And I can only imagine her being like, I don't even know what to object. This is so far out of scope, so far down the road. I don't even know what I'm objecting to, but I know it's not even, this is just ridiculous what's going on. So
yeah,
like her demeanor is not nonchalant. She's just like, what the fuck, you know?
So I'm gonna stick in a point about her right now.
Sure.
She is asking so many leading questions without foundation in examining these witnesses that it is disturbing to me. Like if Lori had real counsel with her representing her, her side would be having just as many objections to the way that Trina is asking these questions, because she will introduce evidence and she will talk about things that don't have a foundation yet. Like she'll just bring up, like when she's playing these videos that we're going to see later on, from that lady detective, she will talk about what we're going to see in the video before she plays the video.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, so Lori told you this and Lori told you that. And it's like, there's no foundation for that. You can't ask this and the witness is just there. Yeah. Yep. And then they play the video, and then we see what she just described. No, you're supposed to play the video first, and then that lays the foundation for you to ask the witness questions about that video.
Yeah.
But she has so many leading questions that but it's Lori's job to object to those, to know to object to those, and to object to those, and she's not.
Yep.
She's objecting to some silly stuff.
Yep. Agreed. I don't think I'll throw this out there. I don't know if we can answer it. Come appeals time, do you think Trina's smart enough to know that she's not going to hopefully sabotage this trial, but do you think her being a little lax is kind of possible?
No, if you don't object to it in the moment, it's not appealable.
That's it, right? But there's also,
you have it on the record.
You also can't completely, because it's like varsity playing against JV. I mean, there also has to be a certain amount of, you can't just steamroll a pro se defendant because they're pro se. I mean, there has to be some kind of, I thought I heard that today or something.
She's getting away with it, and judge is letting her get away with it. And every once in a while I see him over there kind of like not going to say anything, not going to say anything, not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Yes, and the judge does give Lori a lot of leeway and helps her along. And he said today, like at least once, maybe twice, well, if you phrase it this way, then I'll allow you to ask that question.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, I heard that as well. Yeah. I was shocked that he was giving her legal advice. He really is literally giving her legal advice.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So squeaky chair note past that.
Squeaky chair note. Nice.
So Robin checked into that policy, found out that Lori is not the primary beneficiary, and then they played phone tag a couple of times, and they finally had a phone call, and that's the next recorded phone call, which I actually hadn't heard before. And this is when Lori finds out that she's not the primary beneficiary, and she calls to see how much information she can get from Robin. And Robin doesn't bite. Lori says, well, I have the original policy. And then, sometime after that, Charles changed it to like an 80-20 where I was 80% beneficiary and a couple other people wanted to buy into the business. So we gave them like 10% each. So it was like 80-10-10 or 80-20, but it's just a handwritten policy, but I have it right here.
Right.
And then Robin says, nope, it was changed in March. And Lori says, well, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Can you tell me who that beneficiary is? No, I can't tell you. I can't disclose that. Well, he owes a lot of people money, so I'd be worried that if I was the beneficiary, they might come after me. Like, that's a weird thing to say.
Right. Do you know Terry Webb? He says, so great meeting you in court today. Thank you for being so kind and informative. Take care.
Terry, good to see you in here. Thank you for joining us. It was very nice to meet you too. Did we miss?
Go ahead.
Did we miss something from vague and ambiguous, or did you put that up?
There was there was. I pulled it up and.
Oh, okay. I missed it. Thank you, vague and ambiguous. I appreciate that.
There it is.
Thank you for that.
And I think DSN at the beginning I pulled it up, but I did not verbally acknowledge that. So I'm pretty sure that was DSN. So thank you for that. There it is.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Aaron, for starring those and pulling those up. We were really excited to hear these because these were that first phone call. Lori was like, I want my money, and then the second call, all I saw was like Gollum, oh, my precious, give me my $1 million. And then the second phone call was like, nope, smack, sorry.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Can I manipulate into telling me something that you shouldn't tell me?
Yeah.
We have a 7-year-old with autism, so she's playing the poor me card.
Yeah. Blaming JJ,
Yeah.
Blaming, oh, what was me? We have a 7-year-old, and yeah. She's so disgusting. Anyway.
Then she says, can we check my $2 million policy? Because, maybe he changed the beneficiary on that too. And the gal's like, well, if you own the policy, he can't do that. She goes, well, maybe he signed my name on it, on the change.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gal's like, well, we don't have your $2 million policy, so you'll have to check with whoever does. And that was the end of that. Mm-hmm. There was no cross-examination and no juror questions.
Yeah.
Then we get to Jeff Moberg, who is with the Arizona Department of Public Safety. He is a forensic scientist, particularly a firearms and tool marks expert. We go over his CV, his curriculum vitae, then go into a general discussion about semi-automatic firearms, semi-automatic handguns. He starts talking about how as the cartridge is loaded in the gun, as it's getting ready to be fired, the breech face goes up and back across the back of the cartridge and actually leaves scratch marks, which are identifiable to the level of a fingerprint. And then the same thing with the manufacturing, I'm not going to call them defects, but deformities on the inside of the barrel. They leave scratch marks on the projectile as it's being fired. We talk about lands and grooves. We talk about different levels of opinion and conclusions that he can come to. He can say it was fired by the weapon that I'm testing, it was not fired by the weapon I'm testing, or I have inconclusive conclusions. In conclusions, those can be generally the results of his testing. The firearm that was collected at the scene was a Springfield Armory RDM 45 caliber. Yeah, he had 2 casings and 1 projectile to test. And he test fired them into the water tank. I think any of us who have watched like Forensic Files or any of those type of shows before have seen those testing into the water tank, because the water slows the projectile down, and then it just slowly, falls to the bottom of it, and it's in intact form as it was fired from the firearm. So he didn't have the exact ammunition. I think he said something like gnocchi was the name of the ammunition that Adam had.
Sorry. Just want to pull this one up. Drunky the Bear says, thank you to Joe Schmoe and Trial TV Live for working so hard to bring this information. Also, thank you, mods and awesome chatters. This is a great space, even without chicken chili enchiladas.
Oh, don't forget the green chicken chili enchiladas.
Green chicken chili enchiladas. Oh, chat wanted to know if that's what you had for lunch.
No, but I am going to go to the Mexican restaurant this week.
Oh, so there you go.
The person that sat next to me said it's a really good Mexican restaurant.
Awesome.
I will be there this week.
So thank you, Drunky, for that. Dare you go on Tuesday? Are you going to go Tuesday, or no? Is that too cliche?
Oh, if I go on Tuesday, I'll have to have tacos and not green chicken chili enchiladas. I've heard from the family, true story, that her green chicken chili enchiladas were not very good at all.
Imagine that. Did she do anything that was good or right or happy, or is there anything redeeming qualities about this woman, or is she
I
just?
Haven't seen anything.
Yeah, she's just all right.
Yeah. So he didn't have the exact ammunition, so he used Winchester instead of gnocchi, but he tried to use, the full metal jacket, copper coated projectiles. All casings are copper. But he didn't have a magazine with it. He did not receive the firearm with a magazine. So my question is, where is that magazine, and why did it not arrive with the rest of the gun?
That is a good question. I didn't catch that. I know he had the gun in the box, right? They showed him with the box, and then they had the bullets in separate bags, I think, right? Or projectiles cased in whatever they were. So in that box, it was just the gun. There was no magazine in there, huh?
Yeah. Why not? Where did it go? Chandler PD, where's that magazine at? I can't believe that Lori didn't pick up on that too.
Right? Because I'm pretty sure
that's a chain of custody question.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm pretty sure in the opening they showed, or sometime they showed the pictures of the gun, and I thought it was the magazine.
That was the day of.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought we saw pictures of that.
Right. So they collected it. What happened to it between then and now?
Yeah. Good question.
I've got red star marks by that. Test fired 3 times into the water tank. He made comparisons to the 3 that he fired to make sure that they all had consistent striations between themselves, and then he did comparisons to. I think these are the cartridges. Yes, these are the cartridges. This is not the projectile. So he tested the 3 cartridges that he collected from those 3 test fires, compared those to the 2 casings that were recovered from the scene. And he said, quote, I identified those cartridge casings as having been fired from that gun. Same thing with the projectile. He only had 1 projectile, but he did make draw the same conclusion that projectile was fired from that gun. Then we get cross-examined by Lori, and she asks a really good question. When did you receive that gun to test? And he says, February 26, 2025. Nathan Duncan from Chandler PD. That's 2025.
Mm-hmm.
This is like barely a month before the trial is going to start.
Yeah.
They're getting this gun to a ballistics expert.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Why did it take 6 years for them to test that firearm cartridges and projectile?
Unless the focus was on the Idaho trial and they just pushed this down the road.
No. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't cut it for me. That's
Yeah.
one of the first things you do. So the Idaho trial didn't start until years later, right? Because she spent 10 months in a mental health facility before she was found competent to stand trial. They had plenty of time to test this. Like, that should have been one of the first things they did was test the ballistics. I mean, they send it to a state lab. It doesn't cost them anything to send it to the state lab.
Yeah. Another opportunity for defense to question, why did it take so long? What were you doing?
She's smart enough to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey there, young black economist. Good to see you in here. Haven't seen you for a minute or two.
Always great to see YBE in our chats.
Absolutely.
Madeline asked, but how backed up is that state lab? Oops, Dwayne.
He received that request to test the weapon on February 26, 2025, and he had a report out the door by March 4th, 2025. So it's 2 days plus 4 days. He turned that around in a week. So they can't be that backed up.
I think he said it came in on a Wednesday, and I think by Monday or Tuesday he had the report.
Yeah.
And I think he said it was off on Fridays, something along those lines. Like, I think Thursday was his last day or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, he literally only worked on it for 2 days, and then he wrote the report. And we found out that the report was 13 pages. So it's not like it's this 500-page report.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. My notes say it came in from detective and they wanted it rushed. So it was a rush request. So.
Yeah. From Detective Duncan.
Yeah.
Detective Police Officer Duncan Donuts.
Nice.
Then internally, he sends a report to another examiner to review to make sure that he comes to the same conclusions. Then they send it to a supervisor. Then they send it off to Detective Duncan. So you fired the weapon 3 times into the water tank. Did those casings, as they were ejected, roll around on the ground? No, they didn't. So she's trying to insinuate that, trying to recreate what happened to the casings in the house, he couldn't recreate in the test lab. I think if she had an expert on the stand, she might be able to ask him a more relevant question than that. If you fired once and then you moved and you fired again, how far apart would the casings be? Or if you fired once and then twice without moving, how far apart would the casings be? And he just kind of generally says, it depends. It depends. It depends on the environment. It depends on, are they bouncing off of things? Just doesn't have a definitive answer because there isn't one. Casings act differently when they're ejected because they're under an extreme amount of force. So then redirect. Will the casings land exactly next to each other? I have this question and answer highlighted because he says absolutely no, they won't. And that's not necessarily true. Sometimes I would imagine that casings can land right next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a more appropriate answer would be, it would be very unusual for them to land right next to each other. But to say definitively no, they won't, I don't think is a good scientific answer. But anyway.
Yeah. Possible, maybe not probable. I think you always have to leave that door open to, sure, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Right. But is it probable? Right. Probably, yeah. You always have to leave that door open.
But here I think and I have notes on the side right here. I think Trina is kind of getting sucked down the rabbit hole of Lori's conspiracy or Lori's theory about how those casings got where they wound up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Trina even needs to ask this guy how the casings ended up where they did. They ended up where they did.
Yeah.
Like they're on the left side of where Alex theoretically would have been holding the gun if he were standing at Charles's feet or where Charles's feet ended up. So how did they get there? We don't know. I mean, they could have been kicked there by firefighters. I mean, there are 100 different ways. Trina doesn't need to go down this rabbit hole, but
Yeah.
she's really asking detailed questions about these casings. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you fire multiple times, what happens to the casings? They land in a big like general area. He makes like a big circle.
Mm-hmm.
Says it's not a small area, but they do generally land, multiple shots land, multiple casings land in a general area. Now, if the gun was held sideways, how would the cartridges be ejected? And he says, well, oh, no, this is a jury question.
That's a jury question.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got our gangsters in the house.
Right?
You watch too many movies. That would be me asking that question. But what if you held it like this?
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
shut up, Chris.
So the jury question, if the gun is held sideways, how would the casings eject? And he says, well, sideways which way? And the judge says, well, show us both. So he says, hold it like this, then it's going to go this way. If you hold it like this, then it's going to go down this way. So
Right. Yeah, and there was no furniture. There was no. It was hardwood flooring. So that you're right. Any number of things, 1,000 things could have happened, including first responders. You know, Alex kicking him when he was doing whatever he was doing. Lori. I mean, yeah. So for her to go, you're right. I agree. For her to go down that path, rabbit hole, just seems like she didn't spend too much time on it. I think there was only like 2 or 3 questions she asked in redirect. So.
yeah,
Meeting Trina, so it wasn't
right,
like she spent hours on it, but I guess she's just trying to tie up all loose ends, I guess.
right, right. And that's
So,
why she's got that job and I don't.
right. That's why we're here and she's there.
So now we are up to Chandler PD Detective Cassandra Inklin. Is that how you would pronounce that?
I was having a tough time. I was just calling her Detective K or Detective C, I should say. But yeah, Yin Clan, yeah, well, Yin Clan. Hey, you're better. You go. You knock yourself out.
I don't have an inkling.
I feel sorry because I really liked her. I thought she was a great witness, so I don't want to butcher her name.
Right, exactly.
Even though we just did.
And she said it when she first got up on the stand, but I was not paying attention enough to be like, oh, that's how you pronounce that.
Maybe Inklin. Maybe Inklin.
Yeah, I think so.
Inklin. We'll go with Inklin.
She has been in the robbery and homicide division since 2009 with Chandler PD. She arrived on the scene around 9:30, give or take a couple minutes. When she got there, as she approached the house, she did see Alex sitting on the curb. He appeared, quote unquote, normal, had paper towel or Kleenex to the back of his head that he touched to the back of his head. But other than that, she had no contact with Alex. Did you see any other civilians? Yes, at one point in time, I looked over and Officer Krautheim was talking with an adult female and a female juvenile across the street. Did you know that was? Oh, did you know who they were? Yeah, it was Lori and Tylee. And I'm like, I don't know if you're allowed to ask it like that because she didn't find out till later that it was Lori and Tylee. I guess that's acceptable. Anyway, is that person in the courtroom today? So she IDs Lori sitting at the defense table. What was Lori's demeanor during that conversation with Officer Krautheim? Ordinary and nonchalant. There we go.
There it is.
I think they all just like sit around and like, what's the word we're going to use? We're all going to use nonchalant. She was nonchalant.
Right.
Um, so she didn't hear the conversation that Krautheim was having with Lori, and Krautheim didn't tell her about the conversation. But she believed that because Lori showed up after she arrived on scene, that Lori hadn't been there during whatever happened during Charles' murder. And she probably didn't know that he was deceased. So she was asked to give the death notification. So she walked over. At that time, Lori and Tylee were in a police van at the time. So she walked over with her supervisor. Was it Lockwood? I think.
Yes.
What was her demeanor? Unemotional, calm, unaffected. Would you say nonchalant? Objection leading the witness.
Yep.
That's a good word. Says Inklin. Lori said she already knew, supposedly, that he was dead, that she was there when it happened. So then she drove Lori and Tylee to the police station, to the Family Advocacy Center, FAC. It was about a 20-minute drive, and Lori chatted the whole way. She saw that Lori had a phone, but she didn't use her phone. And Detective Inklin did not ask to see the phone. And did you know that she had Charles' phone? Objection foundation. Like, how does she just say that? How does she just state, like a matter of fact, that Lori had Charles' phone to this witness? This witness hasn't said anything about Charles' phone. She hasn't asked her about, so where is Charles' phone? I don't know, but I later learned that Lori had it. Later on in the day, Lori and Tylee brought it to me. So there's no foundation for this question. There's no legal foundation. This is a completely inappropriate question that should be objected to. Did you know she had Charles's phone? No, I did not. So then she brings out a DVD for an exhibit. Lori objects to it that it is a selective piece of the entire interview and that the entire interview should be aired, and it's overruled. And this happens like 10 times in the next hour or a half hour, whatever it is. They're just short little clips that are like 10 seconds long, 15 seconds long, maybe 20 at the most, on several different DVDs. And I think that maybe Trina K got a free trial version of CapCut.
Nice.
I think she was like, I know how to splice this interview. I can take this piece. I can take, look what I did.
Literally, like every sentence.
Yeah.
Some people like that, and I don't know. What did you think of that?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought it was disjointed for the jury too, and they were having a hard time, not necessarily staying awake, but staying invested in this part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we did get to see, I've seen that Blue Room interview many, many times, and Lori's behavior is just totally inappropriate for the situation. We all know that. The jury got to see that today, but they only got to see it in little clips.
Yeah.
I think for the state's purpose, if they had showed it longer, maybe not the entire thing, but longer stretches of it, I think it might have been more impactful on the jury. I really do.
I agree. I'm okay with it being split up because I think what she was doing, what Trina was doing, was she was asking the question, and then she'd play the clip, and then she would reiterate the question or what we just saw, right? So she'd ask the question, we'd hear the clip, and then she'd reiterate it. So she was like really hammering it home. But to me, it was very disjointed. Like every time I got momentum, it was like, literally she would say a sentence, boop, and then she'd say, so what we just heard was X, Y, and Z. Yes. Okay. So this next clip, we're going to hear X, Y, and Z. Correct? Yes. Play the clip. Okay. So what we just heard was X, Y, and Z. Correct. So, it just was, I just wish she had played, like some people loved it. Because it's really showing Lori's, her lies. I think it really kind of exposed her even more, but I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, at least 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then go back and kind of recap that or something. I don't know.
Yes. Yep.
She
I
did
agree.
at the end. She did put the whole CD, DVD, I guess DVD into evidence. She did put it all into it. So now I guess well, see now Lori has the option on her defense if she does have a defense, play the whole thing. How she thinks that's going to help her, I mean, there's nothing on that interview that's going to be like, aha, this is why the state didn't play that because I said, that, I mean, it only makes her look worse, in my opinion. So I don't
Yeah.
know if she's going to play it on her side or not. I don't know. So
Yeah, I don't think there are any aha for Lori moments in that.
no, if anything, it's just going to here's the shovel, just dig a little dig a little deeper, But what we're going to do tomorrow before while you're on your way there or at there like an hour before, we're going to play that for people that actually want to see it because some people haven't seen it. So I don't think we're going to hear that in the trial. It doesn't seem like they're going to play that full interview. So we'll go ahead and we'll play that for our chat tomorrow. So if you guys want to see that full interview, join us tomorrow.
It's wackadoodle.
It's infuriating because she's just laughing and joking and throwing shade on him. And it's infuriating, but it's Lori. So if you can get past that. Yep.
Well, here's the thing that struck me today is that this jury has only seen, except for that short clip of Officer Krauthimer's body-worn cam, they've only seen Lori in person. They've seen her interact with the other attorneys. They've seen her interact with the witnesses. And how she has interacted with them is the same way that she acts in this video. So they should be able to be developing and formulating an opinion of her and her personality and her character through this.
I wouldn't call her nonchalant. I'd call her dismissive. I think that would be the word that I would use. She's just dismissive of like, yeah, it happened and he was coming at me and my brother jumped in and, saved me basically. Oh, we had a question earlier. I'm not sure if it was Young Black Economist had this earlier in the stream, like this morning when we were watching. So we pulled up Alex's, his interview the day of and somebody, I think it was Young Black Economist. I think. If not, we'll give her the credit. Where did Tylee get this bat? Did Charles gift it to her? Like, where did this bat come from? Do you know?
I don't know who purchased it, but she slept with it in her bedroom, especially when her Uncle Alex came over.
Oh, and then we played Debbie. Do you know who Debbie is? Alex's wife, ex-wife. Do you know that name?
Oh yeah.
We played that or that phone call to Coons, to Detective Coons. We played that video or that phone call.
That's a wild phone call.
Wow, I had no idea. That blew my mind. Yeah. So
it certainly gives more insight into his life.
Wow.
It's funny that when I told you that Tylee slept with a bat, you automatically thought of that phone call.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We'll continue on. We'll finish up with right. We still have more to go, right? Oh yeah.
Yeah. We have our mid-afternoon break here.
Okay.
So the judge lets the jury out, but he keeps behind juror 15 and juror 16, not at the same time. He brings juror 15 in first, and he asked them about a conversation. Did you guys get to see it? You probably didn't get to see any of this, or did
no,
you?
Because the audio was really, really low, and I think Curviel said, "Oh, I can hear it if you turn up." So I turned it up, and it was crackling. It wasn't clear. It was like so, but I turned the gain up. I cranked it up, and we heard a little bit. All we heard was juror 15 when we did a sidebar with a white noise, and it kind of went out. But then closed captioning was coming up, so we were kind of reading it, and it seemed like he had some kind of personal experience with Social Security. Was that the gist of it?
Yes.
Okay. So what was the full story on that?
So he made a comment during that white noise sidebar, he made a comment to juror 16. Juror 16 said, juror 16 made the first comment. So it was after the monthly payments, talking about the monthly payments to JJ and Lori for the death benefits. He made a comment like, wow, that's a lot of money.
And then while they're in the jury box, while they're in the jury. So he looks over and says, wow, that's a lot of money. Literally. Okay.
Yes. So juror 15 turns to him and goes, yeah, well, I have my own issues with Social Security trying to get compensation for some type of a medical procedure or something. And the gist of it fails my memory right now. It wasn't that important, but the judge says, so does your personal experience with Social Security, how that went, whether it's negative or positive, does that affect your ability to be impartial in this case? And of course, juror 15 says, nah, that doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
I'll be all right. So then juror 15 leaves, juror 16. Oh, and the judge says on his way out, juror 15, first of all, don't talk about this case with any of your fellow jurors until after closing arguments and you guys receive everything you're supposed to get and you go back for deliberations. Second of all, don't talk about this little conversation we had right here with any of your fellow jurors. Of course, he said, oh, yeah, of course. I would never do that. Juror 16 comes in. Judge asks him the same question. So, did you and juror 15 have a conversation about Social Security? And he's like, yeah, we did. And it was just like a general conversation. Judge says, basically, all right, just don't do it again, type of thing.
Yeah. All right. Slight slap on the wrist to those two.
Yep. Boy, that juror 15 always getting in trouble. I'm really worried about that.
I know.
He's so nonchalant.
We have to get an interview with him at some point.
Yeah. So the jury returns. Did you understand that Charles was living in Texas, and when he came into town, she got him a room? And once again, I object on foundation. Like, how are you just like asking her this question out of the blue when we haven't seen it on video yet?
Yep.
Then we watched the video. Of course, under Lori's objections, then more video, more objections, more video, more objections. And I'm going to try and hit the highlights. I mean, I've seen a lot of these before, so I've seen this interview before. So it was refreshing my memory, but he always leaves something behind. His phone was on the counter, so I had his phone. That's what she told Detective England. His phone was on the counter, so I had his phone. No, if his phone's on the counter, you shouldn't have his phone. Leave his phone on the counter, let him come get it, and then go back out and take JJ to school.
Yep.
I said, why don't you show me your text? Are you plotting something? And at first I thought she was talking about the text with Nancy Joe, but it turns out it was the text with Adam where they're planning this intervention of sorts. So she's paranoid about that. She's paranoid about the intervention. She's gotten word about it somehow.
Yeah.
So then she said, I was walking around the house with it, so he couldn't get it. She said this, I was walking around the house with the phone, so he couldn't get it. And he was like trying to grab it. And then she does this silly little thing that doesn't look anything like a baseball player trying to grab a phone. Did she tell you? So this is Trina asking Detective England, did Lori tell you that she knew that Alex brought a loaded gun into the house? And that's another objection I've had all along. Trina K, every time she says it, she says he brought a loaded gun in the house. We don't know it was loaded when he brought it in the house. We know he loaded it before he shot Charles, but we don't know he brought a quote unquote loaded gun into the house. There's no foundation for that.
Right.
It's mischaracterization.
She's gotten it in though twice, right? She did it today and she did it last week, right?
She did it in opening statements too, I believe. Yeah. If I remember right.
Yep. Yeah.
Did she tell you that Charles started it, as in started the fight? No. Did she tell you that she started it because she wouldn't give him the phone? Objection, mischaracterization. Because Lori didn't ever say that. She didn't ever say, I started it because I kept his phone. So she's paraphrasing it in a way that I would object to as a defense attorney.
Yeah.
Then she tells a story about Tylee and Charles and Alex with the bat. Tylee comes out with the bat. Charles takes it. And then she says he swung at her. He swung the bat at Lori, supposedly.
I have a question for you about this. She says that in this interview that he's holding it in his right hand, holding the bat in his right hand, and he's swinging it. He's doing one of these, right? So if your dominant hand, first of all, we know he's left-handed, so he's grabbing it in his non-dominant hand. Second of all, he's swinging it in a very non-dominant way, right? If you were to have a bat, how would you what would your first instinct be to swing that bat at somebody if you wanted to do them harm? What would you do?
Well, I'm left-handed, so I would swing it with my left hand
How would you swing it with your left hand?
like this.
Exactly. She's saying it was his non-dominant hand and it was like this. To me, that's like the exact opposite of what you would do in a situation like that. You know, it's not like it's a sword or a knife. You know, you're not going to do any damage like that. You're going to do damage like
Right.
this, right?
It would be like a tennis forehand swing.
Exactly. So she said that when I watched that, when I've seen this before, when I saw it last week or 2 weeks ago when we were doing some trial prep, I saw that. I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. It's like he's like swatting with a fly swatter. I mean, you're not going to do that. I mean, if he truly was upset and angry, he's not going to be just swatting at her. He's going to grab her and he's going to try and smack her. But anyway, so I wanted to ask you that question. Being a baseball player, how would you grab that bat and how would you swing it? So
yeah, not like she was demonstrating.
No, exactly.
So it was basically she's building this story up to make it sound like she was really being threatened by her husband with the bat, and it was a really loud argument. At some point in time, she sends the kids out because she says she like looks up to the right. She's like, "Oh yeah, at that point in time, I had sent the kids outside." So I mean, she's remembering things at convenient times in here. And then she heard the shot. She says she didn't see it, but she heard it. And she saw Charles on the floor. She saw Alex standing in front of him. Did she tell you how far away he was? No. And then she asked her again, okay, so this is Detective Yanklin is asking Lori, did you see the shot or did you hear it? And then Lori pauses for like a good 3 or 4 seconds. And then she goes, well, I had gone around and I was like running around. And then, so she doesn't answer yes or no, like a normal person would in that situation if her story is true. Did you see the shot or did you hear it? Well, I only heard it. I didn't see it would be your natural response. She pauses and she goes, well, I had gone around and I was like running around and then I come back around and then yeah, I heard it, but I didn't see it. Just totally unbelievable. She didn't call 911. She had his phone, she had her phone, and maybe she had a third phone, possibly her Chad Burner phone, probably.
Yeah.
She didn't call 911. So then they drove them. So after the interview, they drove them back to the scene. Her demeanor was quote unquote unaffected, not emotional. She chattered most of the way back to the house on Four Peaks. So once they get back to the house, they leave in the red rental car. And then at some point, other detectives ask her to get them back to the scene for a quote unquote walkthrough. So she does. She calls them. She leaves a couple of voicemails, doesn't get her call back. She went back to the scene. When she got back to the scene, Alex and Lori were there. And they asked them for their phone. Tylee was apparently sitting probably in the front passenger seat. She picks up the phone out of the cup holder and she hands it over and they tell her the passcode 0000. They both knew it. Lori and Tylee both knew his passcode. And then she handed the phone over to Computer Crimes Division at Chandler Police Department. So then we get into cross. Who was the case agent? It was Detective Moffat. Now it's Sergeant Moffat. When you arrived, was I there? No, I wasn't there, but I became aware of you at some point later. When you say my demeanor was ordinary, unemotional, nonchalant, detached, calm. What does nonchalant mean to you? Detached, calm, like things just don't matter. And do you have a degree in psychology or something like that? I think it was, do you have a degree in psychology?
Yeah,
She's
that
like,
was it.
no.
Yeah.
She's like, no. And then she goes, but there is such a thing as striking behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And Lori goes, okay.
Mm-hmm.
On to the next question.
Yeah.
Like she had like a good little point to pry in there, and she just, once again, she can't land the plane.
Yep.
Like she just goes, when she doesn't know how to land the plane, she just goes, okay.
Yep.
Then they get into how Tylee needed medications from the house.
I didn't know about this whole thing. Did you? Were you aware of this?
No.
Yeah. Okay. This was a new one on
So,
me too. Okay.
so apparently Tylee had panic attack medications,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously this would be a situation where she might need those.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked the police department to retrieve them. Obviously, they couldn't go in the house. The house is sealed up, cordoned off. Well, not sealed up, cordoned off. But the police couldn't go in there either because they didn't have their search warrant yet. I'm not sure where she was going with this one. I mean, I don't know. Was she trying to get sympathy from the jury that her daughter needed medications and nobody could get them?
Yeah,
You can't call that. You can't call the doctor and get an emergency prescription.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's that important of a matter.
I can see her going down that path. Yep. Oh, woe is me, because she kind of continues that later on with the interviewing at the station. But we'll get to that. But yeah, I can see her pulling on heartstrings for sure.
Yep. And then she asked her about the briefing. Was your briefing with the detectives on body cam? I don't know. And then they get into the discussion about the death notification when Detective Inklin and her supervisor came over to inform them of the death notification, and she says, well, how did I know? So her response was, I already know about it. I was there, which is really it is a vague statement. I really know about what? I was where. That's where I would have gone with it if I were Lori. What don't I know about? What did I know about? And she tried to get her to say, she was implying that she already knew he was dead because she was there when he was killed. And Lori just couldn't also get her out of that. She's like, well, how would I know that you were coming over to inform me of a death notification? Did you tell me that you were coming over to give me a death notification? She goes, this is my quote, it would have been redundant for me to tell you that I was coming over to give you a death notification in front of your daughter that I didn't want to give you in front of your daughter.
Right. Yeah.
And the gallery kind of giggled at that one. Like there was somebody that like chuckled out loud. I was like, what? Don't get us kicked out.
Right. And didn't Lori say something like, well, that was nice of you, or something along those lines? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So now about the interviews at the police station. Lori says, did you ask me if you could interview Tylee? Isn't that like protocol for you to ask parents before you give an interview of a minor? And she says, well, sometimes it depends on the situation. And did you tell either of us that we were being videotaped? No. Well, first she says, did either of us know that we were being videotaped? And I think there may have been objection calls for speculation, or she just reworded it. Did you tell us we were being videotaped? No. So she interviewed Lori first. How long did that interview last? Oh, and left Tylee alone in the other room by herself. How long did that interview last? 35 to 40 minutes, maybe a little longer. So Lori's like, so you left her alone in a room for an extended period of time by herself. And do you always wear your gun to interview a child? Sometimes. Would a gun be intimidating? Not based on her age.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I have a problem with police officers wearing guns into interview rooms, because if there's somebody that's dangerous in there, they can be disarmed and have it used against them. But
Yeah.
also for a child, even a teenager, it can also be intimidating. It can be. I don't care what their age is. It can be for an adult to have somebody walk into a room, be alone in a room with you wearing a sidearm.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Lori had an opportunity here to do something, because she asked if are you, she didn't ask for permission. Oh, she asked, "Are you a certified forensic interview of children?" And
She goes,
detective
actually,
came.
I am.
Yeah, I was like, ooh. I was like, first of all, I was like, ooh, Lori, good one. Then I was like, ooh, detective, even better one.
Right.
Like I felt like Lori was trying to get one over on her, and then she's like, yeah, no, as a matter of fact, I am. So she's 16. She's still a child. You know, yeah. But then she came back. The detective came back and said, well, she wasn't being interrogated per se. I was considering her a victim. I was just talking to her. I was just interviewing her. I didn't read her Miranda rights. Nobody was arrested. No, nothing bad was happening. We were just having a conversation, basically, is what she was coming back with. But
Yeah, she said
yeah,
that. She said you're both basically witnesses at a
yeah,
homicide scene now.
yeah. I would have preferred to have had that victim advocate in there with Tylee. If the mother couldn't
Yes,
be there, have the victim advocate in there. Just somebody
100%.
else without a gun. Just say, hey, it's cool. Don't worry. We're just
Right,
here to talk. No worries. Just relax. That kind of thing. So
right.
I thought, again, Lori had a chance to maybe, I don't know what kind of
Score some
damage,
points at least. Yeah.
something. Yeah. Not that it would have really gone anywhere. I mean, so what? Okay, law enforcement, talk to your child. Big deal. Where is that child, Lori?
Oh,
Whatever
Deanna has a
happened?
good point.
Whatever
Deanna
happened to
has a
that
good point.
child? Oh, oh, wait. Oh,
No,
sorry,
Deanna.
Deanna.
Oh, did it scroll up?
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. We'll get back to you, Groovy Cheryl.
Lori,
Uh, Go ahead.
Lori didn't voice any of these concerns during the interview, so I don't see the point of her bringing it up now. That's a really good point. Why wasn't she in that interview room going like, "Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Who's with my daughter? What's happening with her? What are you doing
Mm,
with her?" Um, that's a good point. But the reason she's bringing it up now is because it's a good point during trial. If she can land
yeah,
it, if she can land the plane.
yeah. And Pammy's, yeah, victim advocate. They should have, right? They should have done that. And did they record Tylee? Groovy Cheryl asks.
Yes, yes, they did. There was a
Yeah.
video of Tylee sitting there by herself for more than a half an hour, 35, 40 minutes. She's
Mhm.
singing a song to herself. She's self-soothing. I mean, it's not a pleasant experience for her.
Yeah. And if she is prone to panic attacks, then I didn't realize that, but that just makes it even more just heartbreaking,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And Trace on the case knows what song she was singing, and there's relevance to it.
Hmm.
But I don't think she's in here to tell us what that was right now.
Okay. Yeah, I have not seen Trace. You know what? We'll play that tomorrow, you guys. If you, we'll play Lori's and we'll play Tylee's. We'll play both of those so we can check those out tomorrow.
All right. So, um, Joyce, where you're doing interviews. I was interviewing her as a witness to a homicide, is what she says to that. DFI is a dedicated forensic interviewer. And then she asked questions about Tylee's demeanor in the interview. Objection, hearsay. So what we're going to learn, I believe, is that Tylee's video is not entered into evidence in court.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't hear things that went on in the interview with Tylee, since that hasn't been entered into the court. And this raises questions in my mind. Why can the state play Lori's recorded interview, but Lori can't play Tylee's recorded interview?
Hmm.
Like, what is the legal precedent behind that? I
I
don't
rem
know.
I don't know. I remember in the pretrial, though, the state said that they were not going to play Tylee's. They were interviewed. They were only going to play the body cam of the biological information, which they did, meaning I'm Tylee, I'm 16 years old, I drive a car. They did play that. Maybe because it would be opening that door to, hey, where is Tylee then? Maybe that's why. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Could it be because she was a minor?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Aaron saying, would Tylee's interview be considered hearsay because she's dead? I don't know.
No, because it's recorded on official police cam. I
Yeah.
don't think that's the issue.
Yeah.
Because we're also hearing from other dead people in this case.
I definitely remember in the pretrial, Trina was saying we don't plan on showing this interview. We're only going to show the body cam, and it's just biographical information, her age, her name, that kind of stuff. Which they did. They played that. So.
So then, when they drove them back to the house, Lori, quote unquote, chatted the whole way back. And Lori says, "Are you sure that wasn't Alex and Tylee chatting? And I was just sitting there looking out the window." She goes, no, you were definitely chatting. And I think Lori asked it again. She asked it a second time. Are you sure it wasn't just Alex and Tylee chatting and I was sitting there looking out the window? Said that twice. And there was a definitive no, I'm sure. When they got back, the only car they could use was a rental car because Alex's truck and Tylee's Jeep and Lori's car were all within the house. What was the word that she used for that? Alex's truck was within the curtilage. Curtilage is the legal word. So that's in close proximity to the house. There are some legal precedents for what curtilage is and what curtilage isn't.
Is that an actual term, or are you making a joke?
No. That's an actual term, curtilage. So that also applies to the castle doctrine and defending your house.
Gotcha.
With firearms. So yeah, different states have different laws about that, but since this was within the curtilage of a house that was a crime scene, they had to keep it and their cars, at least until after the search warrant was executed, right, or completed. When we came back to do the walkthrough, you asked for Charlie's phone. Tylee picked it right up out of the cup holder where it had been all day. Objection. The defendant. Objection calls for speculation, and the defendant is testifying through her question. Sustained. I thought she had to get that in there. That cracked me up. Tylee picked it up from the cup holder where it had been all day, right? According to you.
Right. I thought that did she score? I always question if she's scoring points or not, because she's like, you guys told us to leave, and the only way we could have left is taking the red SUV, because like you just said, all those other vehicles were within the, what's it, curtilage. Right? Did she did she score any points by saying, well, what other car could we have taken, or did that just not matter? What did you think?
Yeah, no, she said that, but I don't know what point she was trying to make. Like, was it a sympathy thing again? You took all of our cars except for this stupid red rental car.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. On the surface, it's like, oh man, you are so cold that you took your dead husband's SUV rental car. How dare you do that? But then on the other hand, she's like, well, look, it wasn't our fault. All of our cars were part of the crime scene, so we had to take. That's the only car we took. So look, I'm not such a bad person after all. I was forced to take my dead husband's rental. I guess maybe that's what she's trying to go with. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
And then she asked about a question about chain of custody. Who did you hand the phone off to? Did you hand it off to them directly? Did you hand it off at the scene? Did you hand them off at the police department? Was it in an evidence bag? and it wasn't in an evidence bag. It wasn't sealed as far as I know, but it was handed off at the police station, he says, and I don't know where Lori was going with that. And that's all I have for Cross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the grand jury, something about the grand jury was objected to.
Well, yeah, she starts to ask another question.
Yeah.
She says 2 questions in a row that get objected to by Trina,
Mm-hmm.
and the judge has had enough, and he just dismisses the jury for the day.
He wasn't even saying sustained or overruled when Trina was putting in the clips. Remember,
Right.
Lori's like objection, and he's like allow. He did he. It got to the point
He's
where
like exhibit 281 is entered.
Yeah. So
yeah. So it was a I can't remember if it was her testifying by asking a question and then Trina objects to it, because it's her testifying by whatever question she asked there at the end. And then she says then she starts to go, well, according to the grand jury, and Trina's like, objection. Like, she almost jumped up out of her chair, and the judge is like, that's it. We're done. That's it. We're calling it for the day.
Yep. They went to 4:30 today?
Well, this part did. They dismissed the jury at 4:33.
Okay.
And I was getting worried because I'm like, how long is this cross going to go?
Yeah.
So I think we may have more cross questions for this witness in the morning, because I don't think Lori was done with cross.
Okay.
So, but the judge was done. The judge was like, we're done.
Right.
So, but we had like another 10 minutes of stuff after that. How much of that did you guys get to see?
All of it. Yeah, this we actually saw all of it. Yeah.
So first he says something like, Rule 106, which is what Lori was citing for the partial videos being shown instead of the whole thing. He says that goes more to testimony when only part of a person's testimony comes in, and the whole testimony would reveal something else other than what the partial testimony is saying. He says that's not applying to these. He says the state has every right to pick and choose what parts of the video they play to the jury. They don't have to play the entire video. They can, in fact, he said they probably would not be advised to show the parts of the video that may be beneficial to you, basically implying that's up to you to come up with the parts of the video that might be beneficial to you.
Exactly. Yeah. So now I'm wondering if on her defense, if she's actually going to play that interview. We'll see.
We shall. And if she does, that might extend court for another day.
Yeah.
Just because fill in the blank, she's got nothing else. She's got nothing else.
Thankfully, it's only like 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes. It's not that long. It's not like 5 hours.
Right.
That would be the only thing we have going for us, is that it would extend it for sure, but it's not like it's not like 30 minutes, 30 or 40 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
And so then we get into the gray key extraction file.
the great gray key kerfuffle.
Yeah.
She goes on and on. She had this with the pre-trial. She was yapping about this. She was yapping about this at the beginning of this trial. She was, this is like their third or fourth time. I think she may have legitimate. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. She said from the very beginning, she has maintained that the state only gave her the extraction report and didn't give her the actual raw extraction files. And that's what this gray key file is. So she's right. It wasn't provided in discovery.
Yeah.
So, and the judge wouldn't hear any of it. The judge wasn't having any of it. The judge said, no, the report's enough. There aren't any other files. I think you're just talking about a newer version of the software, and that's not true. That's not true. The gray key file is something that should have been disclosed in discovery by the state. But having said that, so they got that from the state yesterday, I think, is what
Thursday.
she said on.
She said Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday. So I guess last week, yeah. Thursday.
Yeah. So her lead investigator, Jeff White, was working with Lonnie Dworkin. And he said, I was working with him for 4 hours this morning and we couldn't figure out how to make sense of this, how to get this to any type of a readable format.
Mm-hmm.
And the state is like, well, that's because it's raw data.
Mm-hmm.
And then the judge is like, well, what software were you using to try and do it? And Jeff said, well, I have the latest version of Celebrite. And I mean, it just went back and forth. But Jeff White does not strike me as, how do I put this nicely, as the most tech savvy type of person.
Yeah.
Like there was one hearing where Trina said, we haven't received that from the defense yet. And Jeff White was like, oh yeah, I had to fly out of town and I forgot to hit send on that email before I flew out of town.
I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Dude, for real?
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
for real? I mean, I've forgotten to hit send on an email before, but not in a conspiracy to commit first-degree felony murder trial.
Yeah. This is where I think Trina was kind of like, Judge, I don't want to throw any shade on these guys, but, I kind of got, right? She was kind of like, let's see, states like, we didn't give you the Celebrite. I'm not sure that's right. It needs to go to Dworkin to review. I would need to know if, let's see, states like we're nearing we're coming to our end of case in chief. I would need to know if that's actually a problem, and then he can explain why it's a problem. Like she was just kind of like, Judge, you got to help me out here. It's user error, I think, is basically what Trina was kind of
Right.
trying to put out there. So,
and that's what I suspect too.
Yeah.
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 And how did so Lori has a total of 10 hours approved for Lonnie Dworkin for his entire extraction, investigation, everything. How did he agree to spend 4 hours of that, or did he donate his 4 hours that he spent with Jeff White today?
Then there's that. Yeah. He literally just ate into almost half of his time on the phone trying to open up, and Judge is like, is it just a click, point and click? And it's like, no, you have to have software. And Trina's like, we don't give you Cellbrite. You have to have that Cellbrite. And he's like, well, I have both versions. I have the old version and the new version. We still can't open it up. So I don't know what's going on between those two, between state and defense on this matter. It seems like it's prickly, and I don't know. It's not going to get resolved. Actually, Judge was saying it's not going to really get resolved for this trial. Maybe for the Brandon Boudreaux trial. He said maybe. He says it's not an issue for this trial, but for the next. So he's not going to let this in. It seems like one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, he pretty much said that.
Yeah, he did that. Well, that's what I have. Not an issue for this trial, but for the next.
Yeah.
And supposedly, Lori said, we'll let you know in the morning if they're going to get with Dworkin and see if this can be resolved. So, and then Trina said her somebody was sick today. Her investigator or somebody was sick, so she couldn't ask. She didn't know who she could ask.
Yeah, Nathan Duncan was absent today from the defense table. I didn't even catch that.
Okay,
yeah.
that's who her. Okay, I didn't know that. So that's a detective. Okay, I didn't realize that. Yeah, so it's weird every time. Trials are always weird, right? You never know what you're going to get, but and you definitely don't know what you're going to get when you have pro se. But every time I think about this trial, it's always something, right? There's just always something. So
there is, and it's so bizarre after trial watching on TV, my computer, YouTube, whatever, for so long, being in there in person.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's kind of surreal. It's a little bit surreal, especially with a case like this that just has so many dynamic figures in it.
Yeah. Do you want to get to some questions before we let you go?
Sure, absolutely.
Let's see what we have here.
135. Oh, 35.
Kikaru, has Lori given any indication of laying all the blame on Alex?
I think she's just trying to spread the blame around wherever she can. She's definitely thrown Charles under the bus, Tylee under the bus. I think she's just trying to throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks.
Sure. This is fun. We always like to see this. Sparkles. Hey, I'm new here. Paul from reporting live from my sofa shouted y'all out the other day, so I thought I'd check you out for this trial. Well,
Oh,
thank
wow.
you. Appreciate that. I
Absolutely.
always I always like when new people come in. Simi says, I think Lori's trying to say Charles was going after Tylee and Alex saved her.
Well, she changed her story in the interview room. In the blue room was that Charles was going after her. Charles swung at her. So Tylee's at that point in time, Tylee's out and maybe out of the house, maybe not.
Yeah.
There's so much gray area in there in Lori's story. It doesn't all make sense.
Yeah. It's just me. In the clips of Lori's interview that they showed, Lori didn't mention anything about Charles hitting Alex with a bat. Did you all catch that too?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, we missed a part of
What?
when was it that Alex said that his head bounced off the floor?
Oh, yeah. We did miss that part. I caught that as well, and I brought that up. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? That was in the that was this morning before trial started. We watched that. We watched his interview today.
Oh,
So
right.
that was that.
I caught part of that. I caught part
That's
of
right. Oh gosh, we're starting to swim. We're starting to
it. We are.
mix. We're starting to mix pre-trial stuff with actual trial stuff.
Don't cross the streams. Don't cross the streams.
I know, right? Let's see. MG says, yeah. So how is it Charles hit Alex with the bat if Tylee herself said she had the bat?
Well, the story is that Lori's story is that Charles. So when Tylee came out of her bedroom with the bat, she kind of came at Charles a little bit, and Charles grabbed the bat from her. According to Lori, he pushed her to the ground. And then he went after Lori with the bat, and then Alex came out, and apparently, according to Alex, he whacked Alex in the head with the bat. So I don't know where Lori disappeared in that mix, but it was chaos. It was madness.
It was madness. Here is the question of the night. Joe from Miss Shorty, do you have one pen with different colored ink or multiple pens in court with you?
I have two different pens. I have a black pen and a red pen.
And you're ambidextrous, right? Aren't you writing on both with both?
No, I actually take my red pen and I put it up here because I use that a lot less frequently, but I need it at the ready in case we get something important that comes in.
Right. I did notice this, and I'll ask you this, Krista Johnson. Have you noticed she stands with her ring elbow on the podium? I think it's to hide the rack belt. I do notice she's like leaning this way. I think to her right. Have you noticed that?
I have not.
Yeah. And then
it's kind of hard for me to see that angle from the gallery.
Okay. And I've noticed there's like a little something around her, if you will, like a spare tire on some people. Like there's like, and it must be that belt. So she does kind of lean like that. I did notice that, Krista.
I need to get a T-shirt that says, "I don't have a spare tire. It's a rack belt."
Nice. Yeah, Linda Lou, she used that phone to get Charles angry about her having it. Then Alex came to her rescue.
Yeah, she used it well, but she was also asked multiple times today that it came up. Was it Detective Inkland? Did you ask her? Oh, so the way that Trina got it in was, did you ask her why she didn't just give the phone back to Charles so Charles could leave and take JJ to school? She said that twice. She got that in twice.
Yeah.
And once again, that's kind of like, is an attorney allowed to ask that without foundation?
Right. This is a question that kind of keeps coming up. Widespread Panic says, I wondered if she and Alex shared the shooting or if maybe Alex couldn't do it, so she had to. Remember, she got so mad when Alex failed at his attempt on Tammy. What do you think of that little theory there?
Not just his attempt on Tammy, his attempt on Brandon Boudreaux.
Yeah.
Remember, Chad said he can't do anything right. He missed. He can't do anything right. But I think in close quarters in the house, he probably had a better chance of hitting center mass. Remember how she said that multiple times to one of the firearms experts? Have you heard of center mass? Hitting center mass? To center mass.
Right.
Do you? if they share the shooting, we'll never know because they didn't test them for gunshot residue on their hands.
Yep.
We'll never know.
And we were watching Alex's interview an hour after the shooting, and they were swabbing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, they did swab, and they said they didn't, but actually I went back in our chat, corrected me that they were actually swabbing for DNA. So they got DNA off of Alex. Trial Junkies United. Objection. Did they ever check out Charles's phone to make sure Lori didn't delete things from the phone?
They did a full extraction. But we also heard from the initial extraction expert that if you delete things like out of your browser history, those may or may not be recoverable.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a juror. Didn't a juror ask that? Basically,
Yes.
Karen Reed, how long? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Asking for a friend, if somebody deletes something from their web browser history, can it be recovered?
I know, right? All right, my friend. We've pulled another 2.5 hours or so. What else do you want to talk about before we let you go?
I think we're good to go. I mean, I've got some. I'll be putting out some short teasers for the interview I did yesterday, the pre-recorded interview that's coming out Friday. So keep an eye out for those. And then keep an eye out for my Twitter feed update live. I mean, I'm in there. I'm trying to pull triple duty. I'm watching the jury. I'm taking notes. I'm tweeting the important things.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot going on in that courtroom.
This is a really great question by Future. They've gone through 17 and they have 22 on the list. And so far they have not. Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
So far they haven't called. Who haven't they called yet?
William. I got my list right here.
Ariel Werther. Have they called? Oh, Moffitt. They haven't called. Oh, have they called Moffitt yet?
So if I go from top to bottom on the state's witness list,
yeah,
they haven't called Nathan Duncan.
Yep.
Did they call Jason Hunsaker? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
They called Krautheim McDonald. Moffitt. They haven't called Moffitt.
Yep.
Ariel Werther.
Yep.
I think that's it.
And on the Banner Life, yep, civilians, Christina Atwood, yeah, they've called everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have.
Moffitt would be the big one.
Yep.
And Duncan.
Yes. Yeah. Nathan Duncan, especially considering he's been sitting at the defense table the entire trial.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be interesting. So Duncan, Hunsaker, Moffitt, Werther. I think they have 4.
And Kent Keller. We haven't heard from Kent Keller yet, I don't think.
Oh, with Chandler Fire Department?
Oh, no, we have. I'm sorry.
That was Captain Keller, yeah.
Yeah, he was the
Colonel,
Kentucky... Yeah, he was the Colonel.
Colonel Keller.
Yep, Colonel Keller. All right, so Duncan and Moffitt definitely are the big ones because we've heard their names multiple times. Hunsaker, we haven't really heard that name. Mm-hmm. And Werther, haven't heard his name yet either. All right. So there you go.
Or her name, Ariel.
Oh, I'm sorry, her name. Sorry, yeah. All right. Joe, we'll let you go. Do you want to, we know where to find you on YouTube, but just in case, you want to tell the good people out there where they can find you on Twitter, X, all the socials?
Yeah. So it's just YouTube and X right now. Maybe I'll get into the other socials someday. Maybe I won't. But on YouTube, Joe Schmoe 88, and that's SCHMOE. And on X is JS_media 88.
Awesome. And chat, there's the YouTube for those that don't know. And here's Twitter, the twits. And you guys can find Trial TV Live here, and we're also on X, Facebook, and Blue Sky. So, yeah, Joe, appreciate you dual streaming again. Your insight is always valuable. We always have tons of questions for you throughout the day, and I'm glad a lot of our chat is coming over and giving you support, giving us support, and asking you these questions. And I think on that, I will say goodbye.
Well, thanks. Yep. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for hosting tonight.
All right.
Find us same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow night.
Yep. Joe gets to host tomorrow. So please join us tomorrow, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys then. All right. I'm going to play an outro. I think I have an outro to play.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Mm-hmm.